Prime Field.
Welcome. This is Prime Field, November 4th, 2025. UConn defeated number 20 Louisville 79-66 in the first women's matchup of the Armed Forces Classic. Azzi Fudd scored 20 points. Kayleigh Heckel scored 14. UConn finished with 50 points in the paint versus Louisville's 18. This film study asks a single question. Did the Fudd-Heckle pairing reveal a repeatable offensive blueprint? One based on gravitational shooting, complementary screening, and structured off-ball movement, rather than a simple alternating scoring sequence? The answer will be pursued through play-by-play evidence, box score context, and film moments from that opening night. On the opening tape, Azzi Fudd operated as a perimeter attractor. Her three-point threat and catch-and-shoot reputation forced Louisville's defenders to make a tactical choice: chase her on the arc or respect interior drives. That choice produced measurable space inside. UConn generated a 2.8 to 1 points in the paint advantage. Stat line alone understates the role. Fudd finished 9 of 20 from the field. Her three-point rate for the game was 2 of 8. Yet those attempts concentrated pressure early, particularly in the first quarter when UConn shot 55%. Louisville's perimeter attention created driving lanes. Kayleigh Heckel repeatedly attacked those lanes. The result was high percentage finishes near the rim and open kickouts. Film shows a repeating pattern. When Louisville top-locked Fudd above the arc to deny off-ball screens, defenders were 8 to 12 feet from the rim. Heckel's drives exploited that distance. On several possessions, a collapse toward Fudd's pull-up threat produced an immediate lane for Heckle to finish or to find a rolling cutter. The gravity of a perimeter shooter in this system created interior efficiency. A notable tactical element emerged: the perimeter shooter setting screens for the driver. On multiple occasions, Fudd set off-ball screens that initiated confusion within Louisville's switching scheme. The opponent faced a choice: fight over screens and concede positioning, or switch and create guard-on-guard matchups that favored UConn's interior options. Those inverted actions were not incidental. They deliberately used the shooter as a moving offensive component rather than a static scoring destination. Research referenced in the brief indicates pass-to-screener sequences and pick-and-roll variants conclude in shots at high rates. Screener actions outperform isolated ball handler efforts and shot quality metrics. In Louisville's case, screens set by Fudd led to at least 2 immediate kickouts to open perimeter pockets and several direct post entries for Sarah Strong. The effect is structural. When a defense adjusts to deny Fudd's immediate shot, it often opens a secondary lane. Those lanes were repeatedly converted into finishable attempts by Heckle and Strong. The inverted screen thus amplified, rather than diluted, the perimeter threat. The box score records points and attempts. It does not record pre-catch movement. On tape, Fudd executed multiple proactive cuts per quarter. These cuts were designed to force rotations and to reset offensive geometry. One documented possession in the first quarter shows a flash to the elbow, a defender shift, and then a back cut that altered the rotation on the weak side. That rotation freed KK Arnold to occupy an open corner. Off-ball movement also contributed to transition production. UConn recorded 15 fast break points. Much of that came when defenders were reacting to continuous movement rather than guarding stationary targets. The brief cites an 83.3% rim finishing rate on Fudd's cuts, on limited volume. In a pattern motion offense, those short, decisive cuts create immediate scoring chances that do not register as traditional catch-and-shoot sequences in simple statistical accounts. Late-game footage shows a different tempo. Louisville shifted toward a deliberate 2-3 zone. The Cardinals increased failing to reach 14 of 17 from the line at 82.4%. In a sustained 8-minute stretch, Louisville trimmed a 20-point deficit to 10. UConn's half-court rhythm slowed. Ball movement became less fluid. Context matters. UConn's field goal percentage dipped. The brief notes a 31.8% quarter at one point, yet the team still held a significant lead entering the late stages. Sarah Strong finished with 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. Many high-value possessions in the final sequence involved either Fudd or Heckle, either scoring or initiating the decisive actions. That concentration of outcomes was not an indication of failure. It reflected a response to zone coverage and to an opponent intentionally changing the game's cadence and contact profile. The fourth quarter clarified a trade-off. When an opponent slows the game and prioritizes free throws, the value of gravitational perimeter motion shifts from generating immediate drives to creating the highest probability late possessions. UConn's system adjusted by funneling possessions into strong and into quick Fudd or Heckle reads. Kayleigh Heckel's box score reads 14 points on 6 of 12 and 2 assists in 23 minutes. Film reveals a broader impact than raw assist totals show. Several of Heckle's most consequential reads came as structural passes after she drew help on drives. One assist came from a skip to Strong on the block after Heckle attracted 2 defenders. Another resulted from a closeout that produced a roller at the rim. In Auriemma's motion framework, many creation actions do not appear as assists. Screens that free cutters, drives that force rotations, and handoffs that initiate post-entry plays often leave the passer off the official playmaker list. Heckle's adaptation from a more improvisational college offense to UConn's read-and-react model manifested as efficient scoring and as underrated playmaking. Her drives regularly changed defender positioning, producing secondary assists and scoring opportunities for teammates. The minutes logged by perimeter creators implied defensive risk. Fudd played 38 minutes, Heckle played 23. Conventional defensive theory suggests extended minutes for perimeter creators can expose a team to transition or penetration vulnerabilities. Louisville attempted to target those vulnerabilities. The Cardinals finished with 66 points on 34.4% shooting. UConn mitigated the trade-off through interior strength and roster depth. Sarah Strong's 21-9-5 line forced Louisville into more perimeter attempts. The Huskies listed 9 players at 6, 2 or taller, allowing coach deployment patterns that protected the paint while deploying perimeter specialists. Early in the game, when perimeter defense tightened on Fudd, role players and interior presence converted the open lanes into points. The roster composition enabled a strategic sheltering of shorter-minute perimeter creators on defense, without surrendering offensive identity. The opening night performance offered a clear pattern. Shooting gravity altered defensive geometry. Perimeter scorers functioned as active screeners and as cutters. Drivers converted open lanes. Interior dominance created a reciprocal effect. The paint presence amplified perimeter opportunities. If the Fudd-Heckle interplay persists and health allows both players to sustain their roles, the structural characteristics seen on November 4th constitute a repeatable template. That template rests on 4 elements: gravitational perimeter threat, systematic off-ball movement, inverted screening, and interior finishing. Together, these components create compounding advantages that extend beyond isolated scoring bursts. Historically, offenses evolve incrementally. The performance in the Armed Forces Classic does not rewrite the record. It does, however, illustrate how a modern program can combine shooter gravity and complementary drive creation into a cohesive, resilient system. For UConn, the opening night provided a practical demonstration, a patterned motion offense that converts individual tendencies into shared efficiency. The documentary's final observation is conditional and precise, should the synergy between perimeter gravity and interior conversion remain intact. And should injury and roster changes not disrupt that balance, UConn's early evidence suggests a title defense built less on single-player usage and more on calibrated interplay. The legacy, therefore, may not be a single performance. It may be a model, one that other teams will study, test, and, if effective, attempt to emulate.
Prime Field